Welcome back to the Chasing Happiness podcast, an honest podcast about finding happiness, what it really means, and the process of getting there. My name is Crystal, and today I'm going to talk to you about weight and health, which I know seems kind of like an odd topic for us to be having a conversation with on this podcast, but there's a reason I want to talk about this. So for those of you that don't know me personally, I am what you would call overweight. I have been overweight my whole entire adult life. I have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, for those of you who don't know. So when I hit puberty, I started putting on weight, and although my weight has sort of leveled out in adulthood, it has never been at a low enough BMI for me to be in the normal range on charts. So I've always been considered overweight. And a few years ago, I started a process of talking to nutritionists, and actually I was in my early 30s when I started, but talking to nutritionists, trying to find out if there was anything I could do to sort of compensate for the PCOS. And I started focusing a lot more on my health. So I eat about 80% vegetarian, and I try to do low sodium, mostly natural, straight from the ground fruits and vegetables. But because I've been doing this for a few years, because I've spoken to specialists and nutritionists and geneticists, I have a unique perspective on what weight really is and how society views you because of it. And I can tell you from a personal perspective, even though I have lots of people who love me in my life, lots of people also judge me. Even some of the people who love me judge me because I'm overweight. And it changes how you deal with the world. It changes how you act in the world, and it changes the way you feel you're going to be perceived in the world. So it took me a long time as an adult to accept that a lot of people were going to judge me because of my size. So what I did in my 30s, after speaking to all of these medical professionals, was I started to focus just solely on my health. And I stopped worrying about the number on the scale. And for all you ladies listening, and maybe some of you men, you'll know if you've ever been obsessed with your weight, the scale is a big stressor for you. Because even if you only go up 1 pound at a time, every time it happens, you get stressed out. Every time it happens, you get concerned. Your body has a negative reaction to that emotionally and physically. So I stopped paying attention to the scale, and I started paying attention to what I was eating, what I was putting into my body. And I started treating food like it was medicine. Is this full of vitamins and minerals? Is this going to nourish me? Is it okay for me to eat this because I've eaten super healthy the last 4 or 5 days? Because let's face it, every once in a while, I do, just like everyone else, enjoy going out and having French fries or going out and having chicken wings, because I do occasionally eat meat. But I wanted a mostly healthy lifestyle, which is why I settled on the 80-20 rule. 80% is mostly vegetables, fruits straight from the ground, and the other 20% could be things like grains if I choose to eat them, could be going out and having, French fries with friends and family, whatever the circumstances are. So this started in my early 30s. I'm now almost 40, which is crazy to believe. But in the last 10 years, I can tell you my weight has not really changed. I've dropped and regained and bounced back and forth probably about 30 or 40 pounds throughout the course of the 10 years, up and down and up and down. Because if you've ever dieted, changed your lifestyle, any of those things, you know that it's a cycle, and it's mostly a yo-yo kind of cycle. But what has happened is, even though I'm not losing weight, my health is improved. I feel better. I have lower cholesterol. I have lower blood pressure. None of those things were sort of out of the norm. In my early 30s, I was just underneath the point of where they were going to be concerned about diabetes. So it's one of the reasons why I started to get healthy. I wasn't pre-diabetic, but they were concerned that I was getting there. So my blood sugar, completely normal. Blood pressure, completely normal. All of those things are perfectly healthy now. And so while my weight has not changed drastically, my health has. And because we live in a society that judges people solely based on how they look and what they weigh, I can tell you from personal experience, a lot of people assume I'm not healthy, that I don't exercise, that I don't do yoga or go for a walk or run or have any physical activity. And the truth is, I walk 60 minutes a day, sometimes more. I do yoga every day. I meditate every day. I am more healthy than some people who weigh half of what I weigh. So today's podcast, I want you to think about how you're, one, judging your own health. Is it simply based on a number on a scale? Or is it based on what you're doing to maintain your health and well-being? What you're eating, how you're exercising, how often you're doing those things. But two, I want you to think about, are you judging other people as well? And I know that that's sort of a touchy subject for a lot of people, but it's important for us to recognize that we have prejudgments so that we can work against them to change them. So even I will 100% admit to you that before I started going through all of this over the last 10 years, I would judge people as well. That's the society we live in. But because I've gone through this process, because I've learned over the last 10 years, and because I myself am constantly aware of what my judgments of other people are, I am able to, when I have a judgment, retrain myself and understand that that's not true, because we honestly don't know anyone else's life. We have no idea what they're dealing with. Maybe it's somebody who you met while you were on a vacation. You've known them for 3 days? Maybe you've seen them at 2 or 3 meals, but you don't know what their everyday lifestyle is like. You don't know what they do on a daily basis. You have no idea what their habits are away from this one circumstance that you've met them in. So it's really important for us to be aware, and it's really important for us to stop the judgment. You cannot determine someone's health based solely on their weight. And a study came out about a month ago, I think it was, that talked about weight being a very complicated thing for people. It's not just calories in versus calories out. It's also genetics. It's also a whole host of other things. And I won't get into all the specifics. If you guys want to read the research, you can find it online. It's actually, I think, posted on the blog. If it's not, let me know and I will happily get the research study for you. But I think it's posted in with the blog that I did on this topic. Weight is complicated, and weight doesn't determine our value. The only thing that should matter is if you're healthy and happy, and that's not up for judgment by other people. So if you're someone like me and you've struggled with your weight, if you're someone like me and even though you're doing all the right things, it's not working for you, start to change your perspective. Look at what your health factor is, not your weight, and go from there. Talk to a doctor, talk to a nutritionist, talk to a medicine man, talk to anybody who you need to talk to become more comfortable with it. And it's hard. I will fully admit that it's hard. People absolutely, when I post an Instagram picture, judge how I look, but I'm doing the best that I can to take it all with a grain of salt and understand and know that I'm working on my health, not on my weight. And if the weight comes off, great. But if the weight doesn't come off, that's okay too, as long as I'm healthy and happy. That's the important part. So think about all that for yourself this week. I know this isn't typically what our podcast sort of talks about or goes over, but I think because of the society we live in today, it's really important that we have this discussion and that we understand that we do have prejudgments and that we're willing to change them and acknowledge them, and that we all stop paying attention to a number on a scale, because your worth is not valued based on that number. I promise you it's not. Have a great week, everybody, and I will chat with you next week. Bye for now.